The information, views, and discussions on this podcast is presented as a supplement to, and not a substitute for, the knowledge, skill, and judgment of qualified psychiatrists, psychologists, physicians, and healthcare professionals. We are not presenting ourselves as psychologist, psychiatrist, psychotherapist, or mental health social workers. Do not use our content in lieu of professional advice given by qualified medical professionals. Always seek the advice of your own medical provider and/or mental health provider regarding any questions or concerns you have about your specific mental health conditions or before implementing any recommendations or suggestions from our podcast.
They pretty much paying me to go down to Texas for vacation.
Mm-hmm. Well, with me, my first experience with the Dark Night of the Soul.
Hold on, bro. I'm gonna have to delete that out. My sis keep calling me. I'm sending her a message telling her I'm doing the show. Don't call back. Okay. Sorry about that.
It's cool.
But yeah. Let me get to. I'm going way too long on this Texas story. But let me say this real quick. All right, here we go.
Mm-hmm.
Peace. What's going on, everyone? This is the Mental Health Cypher, and this is the new and improved format of the Mental Health Cypher. I am the Herban Yogi, also known as Sai Shanti, and joining me is my brother, Chris Enlightened.
Peace. What's good brother? How you doing tonight?
I'm being obedient, and the layers of my onion of mastery is being peeled as we speak, and almost make me want to cry.
Oh. I like the way that rolled off that mandible, good brother. Winning.
Straight off the crown, winning, and ready.
I can't complain, man. I'm doing good, feeling good, looking good, winning good, staying productive as ever, helping people. Just got back from North Carolina from a Words of Power spiritual seminar, so I learned some new jewels. I learned some new methods to maximize my winning potential. So I'm on the verge of just winning exponentially. I'm embracing my cornucopia of love and joy, so I'm feeling like the God that I came here as.
I bear witness. Bask in the glory. You say you was editing a YouTube video. Why don't you tell everybody what the topic of your YouTube video is, as well as make sure they get that address. I also have it in the links in the description of this fine program here.
Indeed. My YouTube channel is hot. It's The Enlightened Journey. That's THEE, Enlightened Journey. And today I just finished a video on what will you change to see change? No, what are you willing to change to see change? Meaning, what are you willing to give up? What aspects of your old self, even though you may like them, it may feel good, they may be titillating to you, but how much are you willing to show the universe that you're ready to embark on the new life that you're destined to have by shedding all those low vibratory old habits of yours, to show the universe that you're ready to walk in that reality that you dreamed of having? That pretty much summed up the video. Yeah, and I give some tips, I give some call to actions, and I put a little emotion in this one. No holds barred. You know what I'm saying? It was right, true, and exact. It was raw, and it was needed. There's no easy way to shake someone up. You know, a lot of spiritual teachers think that you got to be all love and light all the time. But, you know, that's a front. That's a front. When you're really trying to give a message, sometimes it needs to be hard. You know, I'm a martial artist, and every one of my students get hurt because the best way to learn is through pain. If I tell you to block and I never tap you, you won't understand why you need to block. But when I tap that eye, the next time you see that punch going, you won't even have to think to block. Your subconscious mind will block for you. And that's the zone that I try to get all my students in. To think without thinking, to know without knowing. You become the moment. You know what I mean? And in order to become this the spiritual guru or whatever you want to be, whatever level of spirituality you aspire to have, you must challenge yourself, because you cannot evolve if you don't go through strong, hard challenges. No one evolved or got better by having it easy. It don't work like that. A bodybuilder don't get built by lifting 5 pounds for 5 years. They have to challenge themselves. And I'm challenging everyone who watches my YouTube channel to challenge themselves and grow spiritually, because ultimately that's our purpose here on in this earthly domain, to grow spiritually. Nothing else.
We just literally got on the phone maybe less than 5 minutes before we started this podcast. So I had no idea what his video was. He just told me, I just got finished working on the video and editing it, and it should be uploaded in about 15 minutes. I'm like, all right, you ready to do the show? Boom, I hit record. And when he told us what his show is about, that's a great segue to our show. A nervous breakdown. Is it a nervous breakdown or a dark night of the soul? And what you said about what are you willing to give up and shed from your old self to become your new self is exactly the transformation that I had experienced a few weeks ago. And I had to shed old ways of thinking, old programs, and my old self so that I can become my new self. And that happened by way of a dark night of the soul. Now, before I get there, let me explain to those who are unfamiliar with a dark night of the soul is. The dark night of the soul is a spiritual awakening in which you're confronting your deepest, darkest, most buried, and sometimes blocked issues, emotions, thoughts, feelings, remembrances of circumstances and situations that you may have felt disempowered or angry or frustrated or hurt or traumatized. The dark night of the soul is a spiritual practice to confront all of that hurt and pain, all of that darkness. You know how like you might have a basement and you store all of these things down in the basement, in the darkness, in the corner somewhere. You kind of forget about it, or up in the attic, in a dark corner, just forget about it. And then one day you happen to go down there and you start doing some spring cleaning, or you may be looking for something, and you start coming across things that instantly bring you back into an emotion that you had in your timeline. It could be an old picture of an ancestor. It could be a report card from the 5th grade. And then you start reminiscing on how 5th grade may have been hard for you or great for you. And then now you're totally acclimated into the energy of that remembrance. That's how a dark night of the soul is. But you're purging all of that. You're not just going through it and, okay, that's there. And, I remember that was hurtful and painful. No, you're confronting it. You're digging deep inside of it, and you're extracting the wisdom from the lesson of that challenge, and you're shedding the emotions of it that disempowered you. The emotions of it you may have been carrying that has been slowing you down on your self-development, or keeping you anchored to a thought or a past situation or past event that no longer serves you, because it won't allow you to move forward. So you got to let it go. The dark night of the soul is a very intense, very intense spiritual awakening and session that you'll have with yourself. It's like being in a workshop by yourself, and it's nowhere to hide. It's when you have that honest dialogue with yourself. That's when you're saying things and doing things and remembering things about yourself that you may even just downright hate. And I know hate is a strong vibration, but that's what makes the dark night of the soul so powerful, is because everyone has elements about themselves that they either dislike or hate, or wish wasn't even part of them. Part of their experiences, things they may have said or did that they wish they didn't do. Skeletons in the closet, so to speak. Dark Night of the Soul forces you to confront those skeletons, those demons, and exorcise them. Or if you don't choose to, you'll exercise them and make them stronger. Like the brother was talking about being in the gym. You know, your demons are getting stronger, so now they got even more power over you because you won't confront them. Well, with that being said, 3 weeks ago, that's what happened to your boy. So I'm going through life thinking I'm winning. Everything's fine. I'm handling it. Oh, man, any challenge come my way, I'm dealing with like a champ. I'm interacting with people. I'm giving them advice and helping them to navigate through their challenges. You know, winning like I do. But behind the scenes, there was processes and programs running that I've been ignoring for far too long. That's been giving me red flags and nudgings, letting me know, hey, look, you brought us up. You brought us out the basement. You brought us down from the attic and you opened up the box. You gonna deal with this or what? Nah, I just sweep it under the rug, put it to the side, you know, keep on trucking. When you have multiple experiences of unhealed vibrations that descend upon you at one time, it completely disrupts your physiological state, your mental bearings, your alignment, your intuition, your awareness, your happiness, your joy. Everything is attacked. And it completely breaks you down because the universe just gave you a God smack and knocked you on your ass.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're being disobedient to your spiritual growth. Now, see, on one end, I'm asking for all of these things from the universe. I'm putting these intentions out. I'm doing my prayers and I'm asking for this and I'm asking for that. But in reality, I wasn't in alignment with it because there were issues from my past, issues in my mind, issues of self-doubt, issues of insecurities, issues of unhealings that I had not addressed, that I needed to address to accept all of these wonderful things the universe is trying to send to me. So when the universe, when you constantly asking the universe for something and you're in alignment to receive it, the universe is going to make you ready to receive it. And sometimes that entails putting hands on you. So boom, I had at the time what I was calling a nervous breakdown. Never described it as that before. Don't even know where that language came from. But I was using that language to a very near dear friend of mine's, or of Al's, I should say. And she wasn't resonating with it. I was like, yeah. Before my quote unquote nervous breakdown, I was telling her, and the reason why I'm using that verbiage is because I live in a Western civilization, and a Western civilization, everything about Western civilization affects me and thus have an effect on my psyche and on my mental mind state. The climate, laws, crime, racism, low vibrations, high vibrations, happiness, sadness, whatever labels you want to put on whatever energies that's in the Western Hemisphere plays a direct it plays a direct part in how you navigate and how you have a stability and well-being or dis-ease or disorder or sickness. I use that verbiage because that was helping me to give a name to something I've been experiencing that I didn't have a name for. And I was calling it a mental illness. That served me for a while, but it was like training wheels. I left it on just a little too long. And when you're speaking to high vibratory people of a raised consciousness, they help keep you in check. They help keep you in alignment. They help keep you grounded, especially if you drifting off of your square. And I was definitely drifting off my square, but it's a blessing in it, because all so-called quote unquote mental illnesses have a secondary gain. And what a secondary gain for my quote unquote mental illnesses were given me at the time is it made me extremely creative. It made me extremely innovative in certain moves that I was making, both in my personal life and business wise. And I was seeing gains and wins from that. So I was winning, but it's positive stagnation if you're winning in certain areas, but you're still being challenged by the same challenges over and over and over again with no resolve. You're not moving. Your wheels are just spinning. It feels like you're moving forward, but you're not. And that's where I was at. I was in a perpetual state of being in a positive stagnation. And my sister tried to tell me, yeah, saying a mental illness, claiming a verbiage like that, that doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't resonate with me. She just kept on saying it, and I kept on defending it until the universe came down and went, slap her, and smacked your boy down. I was curled up in a fetus position, crying with my mouth open. Now, see, that's a deep cry. When you crying with your mouth open, that means you're not getting oxygen in your body. That means you're exuding so many emotions that it's depleting your energy supply.
That's real.
But it's a cleansing. Crying is a cleansing. Those tears is weaknesses leaving your body. And I had accumulated so many weaknesses that needed to be healed, that needed to be transformed into strengths, and I wasn't dealing with it. So the universe forced me to deal with it because I kept on asking for all of these things from the universe. So it forced me into a dark night of the soul. Third time it happened in my life. The first time it happened in my life, I was living in Baltimore, and I had an existential crisis because, again, universe slapped me. I'm curled up in a fetal position, crying with my mouth open. And then I started thinking about my life and my purpose here. And I decided I didn't want to be here no more. I decided I wanted to hit the reset button. And I tried, but the universe made it so that my first attempt at being off planet, it's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time, but I had a sawed-off shotgun, and I had bullets for it, a whole bag of bullets. A friend of mine came over because back then I was doing music production. I had a studio down my basement, and he came over to record, and he had a plastic bag just like mine, and my bullets was in my plastic bag on my weight bench. He put his right beside it, so when he left, he took the bullets. And I felt bad about it because he got stopped by the police, and he got jammed up off of that. Shout out to my man JP. Haven't heard from him in years, but he forgave me from that situation, especially when I told him what happened. But when I went to go load up my weapon so I can get off of this planet, it was nothing in there but like tissues and chapstick and a sandwich and nothing deadly. I'm like, this ain't gonna help. And somehow, and I don't even recall doing it, but I called my baby sis. And I just remember just being in a real dark place. Literally, I just couldn't see anything but darkness. And I started hearing a voice, and I'm seeing something, a blurry image. And when it comes into focus, it's my sister over top of me yelling. You can't do this. Blah, blah, blah. Suppose mama find you. Peace of blessings be upon my mother. Blah, blah, blah. And it was like, I'm just looking up at it like, how did you get here? What's going on? What's happening? Existential crisis, another word for being suicidal. And see, when you have a dark night of the soul, you're gonna have those thoughts about no longer being here because you're questioning your own immortality. You're questioning your life up until that point. What have you accomplished? What have you succeeded at? What have you failed at? The things that you failed at are going to be magnified. The things that you won at are going to be minimized. So you have to bring those things that you succeeded at and magnify it, alchemize it, so they're the bigger, they become the loudest voice, and those things that you were struggling with or failed at become the lower voice. And that's what happened. And I was able to, not only was I able to move on from that dark night of the soul, and I didn't call it that at the time because I didn't know that's what it was, but I completely changed my life.
See, what you went through is everyone's dark night of the soul is different. You had a severe dark night of the soul, and I call that like you've been fire tested. Whenever you've been verified and your strength comes from your ability to adapt and overcome falling apart and coming back together again from wholeness, from brokenness, and back to a stronger form, I call that being fire tested. You know,
that resonates.
When humans are on the verge of uniting with the infinite wavelength of their primordial vibration, your old frequency can sometimes go through a crisis or a stasis. It's like your subconscious mind and your conscious mind buckles and bends trying to adjust itself and tune into the cosmic orchestra that's running within you. When that happens, your old view is like trumped by your new enlightened mind, and it brings about a sense of cognitive dissonance. And then you start feeling like your worlds were coming apart and they're clashing within you. But when you work through that, you become a better person. You know what I mean? And I think that's pretty much what happened to you, big bro.
Yeah, that resonated with me. That's exactly what happened to me, bro. Because in hindsight, looking back on it, you know what I was asking for?
What was that?
I was asking for a change. I was tired of being in Baltimore. I was feeling stuck, and I desired change. And I just started imagining what change would look like. Suppose I lived in a different place. What would my life be like? Suppose I had a different career because I was working in a warehouse then. I was actually working for Texas Instruments. But to show you how powerful the universe is, I was working for Texas Instruments in Elkridge, Maryland, in Baltimore, Maryland, and they were closing down all the Texas Instrument warehouses around the country and moving everything to Texas, which meant that we were going to be out of a job. I say we because it was a lot of people in our warehouse. And they had this big meeting and said they closing all the warehouses of Texas Instruments and they want to move everything to this big, huge facility down Texas. You remember Ross Perot?
I remember that short dude. I remember that millionaire. Short bald head old
billionaire. He was a billionaire, I believe. Well, it was his property. It was his facility. This was his thing. He's taking all the contracts for Texas Instruments, moving into this big giant building down Texas. And they had a meeting with everybody and they offered some of us jobs. I was the first one to say, I ain't moving to no Texas because I've never been outside of Baltimore. That was my comfort zone. I've been down south because that's where my people from to visit, but I never lived outside of Baltimore. I couldn't even fathom that. I had too many ties at home. My mom would, cook for me and do my laundry, peace of blessing be upon her. And then my dad was a master mechanic. My car break down, I could take it to him and he'll fix it for free. And they trying to can always hit my parents up for money. That I wasn't ready to leave that. I wasn't ready to leave that. So I was the first one that said no, but they offered every look around the facility and see what's up. So I jumped on that because I'm like, that's a free trip. They pretty much paying me to go down to Texas for vacation. Once I went down to Texas and I visited, I loved it. And I completely changed my mind. And I said, well, I probably could do it. Once I had my Dark Night of the Soul, it wasn't, I probably could do it. It was like, I got to do it. I have to do it. And I made a way because on paper, I didn't have the money, the credit. Nothing went right for me to move. But 3 weeks after having my Dark Night of the Soul, I was in Texas. First time I've ever lived out of the state, away from home. And it happened on the heels of a Dark Night of the Soul. Had the Dark Night of the Soul hadn't happened, I wouldn't have made that move, because once I made my mind up that that's what I need to do, this is what I asked for. I wanted a change. This is change. The universe started sending me all of these resources and people to help me to make it happen.
That's the beauty of the universe, man. A lot of people think whenever they want something, it's going to come easy. You will be tested. Nothing worth anything is going to come to you easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. I remember back when I was 19, when I was in college down in Atlanta, going to DeVry. Me and my wife today, we were on the verge of having our first child. And she came back to Ohio to have a baby and everything, and I stayed down in Atlanta to try to finish school. And unbeknownst to a lot of people, my mom and my family and pretty much everybody, I was homeless. I wasn't eating. I was scratching and surviving. Didn't have any running water. I was going days without eating. And I thought I contemplated hurting people just to get money. You know what I'm saying? And nothing changed. And I was on the verge of like a mental and spiritual melancholy. Like not wanting to hurt myself, but hurt someone else in order to relieve my suffering. But when my wife had my daughter, at the time we were boyfriend and girlfriend, when she had my daughter and I seen her eyes, and my daughter's eyes gave me the light that I needed to make it out of that. And nothing in my paradigm changed other than the light being transferred from my daughter's eyes onto me. That was all I needed to literally pull myself up by my bootstraps and make something happen. You know what I'm saying? And I just did that. I started working, and I just kind of, I dropped out of school. I just started working, and I just made a better way for me. You know what I'm saying? So I know we all go through things, but it's up to you to choose to say, I've had enough. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't know that there's two aspects to the human soul. There's the earthly being that we're on the phone talking, but then there's our higher self that's watching over us all the time. And sometimes our higher self makes us go through challenges so we can evolve into the being that we're destined to be. But when you feel as if you're alone, you lose contact or you lose touch with your higher self. And when that happens, that's when that melancholy and that dark night of the soul kind of kicks in. You just feel alone out here in the world. You feel as if no one cares about you. You feel as if you're a burden on life itself. But I'm here to tell you, family, even if you're feeling that way, it's good to talk to someone about it. Talk to anybody about it. I don't care if it's a stranger, because the universe will bring people in your path to invigorate you to make it out. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say that disclaimer to someone that's probably listening or knows someone that's going through something. Kind of reassure them. Don't just let them die by the wayside. Let them know you love them. Sometimes you got to tell people what they need to hear at the right time, whether it's right or wrong. It's not about being the truth as long as it gets the desired result. That whole truth and lying stuff, when someone's going through something, you got to make them feel better about themselves. You know what I'm saying? I just want to put that disclaimer out there.
When before I had my first Dark Night of the Soul, For many years, I had a lot of spiritual practices, meditation, mantras, positive reaffirmation, divine intentions. And I never had any mental health challenges during those times of spiritual practices. But then I started experimenting with mind-altering substances, because that too was another form of spirituality. I wanted to experiment on exploring other realms and realities and things of that nature. So I started using a lot of different drugs, a lot of psychotropics, a lot of spirits. I was doing a lot of drinking back then. And the people that I was attached to at the time, who I would share these experiences with, I'm looking for a spiritual awakening. I'm looking for a spiritual connection. They trying to get drunk or high. And I'm not saying anything wrong with that, because all of us suffered from the same need to want to feel better. And anybody who used drugs of any form, that's the root of the motivation. They want to feel better. Anybody that tell you life ain't hard, they lying. Life is hard. It's supposed to be hard. It needs to be hard, because going through hell is the only way that you can find your heaven. And there's been times where I'll wallow in self-pity and send out these pity party invitations to all of my emotions and have them come visit. And I'll stand up on my soapbox on top of my pedestal, talk about woe is me, the universe hates me, why I can't do this, why I can't do that. And if you there, okay, visit that place. Don't have your mail forwarded there. Don't stay there. Because it's a necessary step to get you to move into the right direction. So after I get finished feeling sorry for myself, then I start getting angry. I start getting angry because I felt as though nobody had my back. Nobody's helping me out. I'm a good dude. I don't do nothing to nobody. I'm always trying to help people. Nobody there to help me out. Then I start realizing, well, if I start helping myself out as much as I help other people's out, maybe I can make some progress and change. And that's what I started doing. Changed my life. Changed my life. The second time I had a dark night of the soul was when I had I lost my mother, peace of blessing be upon her. I lost my sister, peace of blessing be upon her. I lost my brother, peace of blessing be upon him. I lost my uncle, peace of blessing be upon him. I lost two of my external mothers, which were some of my brother's mothers who I considered, extension of my mother also. Peace of blessings be upon them. Long story short story shorter, 11 people in a 2-year period was dying back to back to back to back to back. Then on top of that, house I was living in was about to be foreclosed on. Lost my job. Lost my car. Was like I said, my car got repossessed. What I like to say is my car went back to source. I was on unemployment. They cut that off. Then all my peoples died. And yeah, I had a dark night of the soul. Started looking at my life again. I thought about exiting the planet, but I didn't really put a action plan together. Just thought about it. And I was just really just asking myself, like, what are you doing with your life? Where are you at? Where are you going? What's your next step? I'm a mama's boy, so when my mom, peace of blessing be upon, when my mom transitioned, I would always say, when I was younger, when mom going, I'm going right along with her. we're going to have a big casket because I want to be in there with her. That wasn't me making a joke. I was dead serious because I stayed in a perpetual state of not wanting to be here. Stayed in it. You know, so when my mother transitioned, peace and blessings be upon her, there's a lot of people checking on me, but I was all right for the time being because something just wasn't clicking. I'm like, why is this like left behind type thing? Is this the rapture? Why are all the good people in my family, you know, not saying the ones who still here wasn't good, but it would just seem like some of the best of us was just transitioning like real close to one another. I couldn't figure out what was going on, but I'm like, the universe has to be saying something. I just didn't know what it was saying. And I don't think I'm still actually translating that. And that was I was going on 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago.
You know what I realized, man, is that the human mind can't understand the divine. The human mind can't understand the divine. And when you try to understand something that's infinite and much more than you, you'll drive yourself nuts. You'll drive yourself nuts. We all have something within us called our divine vessel. Our divine vessel is pretty much our it's like the primordial energy that's within every sentient being and is unique to you. And when that leaves you, you start feeling depressed and things like that. But through connecting with the sun, or gaining your light facets back, you can call it back to you. A lot of people don't know that though. A lot of people aren't even aware that they can call their divine vessel back. You'll wake up happy. I wake up excited about the day because I know it's another chance for me to win. Winning starts before you even begin. When you're waking up sad, you have work anxiety, you're mad, that's when you know you're not living your life's purpose. But I'm here to tell you, when you're waking up excited, you had a good night's rest, you're ready to put your foot on the reality's neck and step around like you the stuff, that's when you know you're winning. You know what I mean? And I want everyone listening now and in the future to put your Timbs on and start stepping on the neck of reality. Sometimes you have to claim your divinity. It's easy to wallow and sulk. That anyone could do that. But when you claim your divinity, you begin to walk like the being that you were destined to be. You know, Jay-Z even said, you were who you was when you came here. When you realize that, you'll realize you're much more than who you are today. Once you realize that this is an illusion that we're living in, you begin to usurp your power to reconstruct your paradigm, no matter what it is you're going through. The law of mentalism states the mind is all and all is mind. When you change your mind, reality changes in time. It's just that simple. But you got to believe it, though, you know?
Let me piggyback off of that. Waking up in high vibrations perfectly coincide with going to sleep in high vibrations. Pretty much how you how you go to sleep, 9 times out of 10 is going to be how you wake up. I make sure I always go to sleep in high vibrations because I know I'm going to be doing some etheric traveling, some astral traveling, and my dream experience. And many times I can get more work done in my dream experience than I can throughout the day because I've already planted the seeds just before I get into that drowsy state where I'm like halfway conscious and halfway unconscious. I start planting seeds of things I need to work on, challenges or problems I need to solve, questions I need answers to. And I'll just start using the law of repetition and just kind of like doing a mantra until I go into that dream state. And movies give you that trick. Movies give you that trick. The Wizard of Oz, one of the most powerful movies of alchemy I've ever seen, especially for the 30s. Remember when the Good Witch was telling Dorothy how to use her magic slippers? Magic slippers. You know, just wrap your mind around that. Magic slippers. And how to slip into an alternate state of consciousness. She was telling her to click her heels together 3 times, a trinity. 33 and a third, mind, body, and soul, and keep saying there's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Boom, next thing you know, she's back at home. That's the same thing that I do during the Magic 30. The Magic 30 is a term used in hypnotherapy to describe the light state of hypnosis that you enter before you go to sleep and enter into a REM, REM, rapid eye movement state of deep sleep. So during your Magic 30, that Magic 30, that light hypnosis, and everybody does this, you at a heightened sense of suggestibility just before you go to sleep. So if you constantly keep on repeating the same affirmation, the same mantra, or the same instructions, you're going to have that dream experience. And, you know, for some, you might need some practice, might need to do it for a while before it actually happens, but eventually it will happen because everybody, the walls of everybody's conscious resistance is different. Some people's are thicker than others. So, you know, you may have to do it a little bit longer. Some people's thickness of conscious resistance is pretty thin. They do it one time and boom, they out. They having lucid dreams, they astral projecting some more stuff. But once you do that, once you master that and going to sleep in high vibrations, you'll wake up in high vibrations, like my brother said. I wake up, so sometimes I'll wake up before I actually wake up because in my mind I'm already creating. I already know what I'm going to do for the day, and I wake up in that energy of excitement. And this recent Dark Night of Soul I had has got me so excited. It's got me so in alignment with my purpose. It reaffirmed my purpose for me. It helped me to realign my spiritual practices. I need to put them back, especially with mental health, which is why this will be the new topic of the Mental Health Cypher moving forward. We'll be talking more about spirituality and less about the clinical and medical definitions, diagnosis, and treatment. Want to use that term anymore, mental illness. I'd rather call them what they are, mental challenges. I don't want to use that term. I'm not going to use that term, nervous breakdown, meltdown, psychotic episodes. I'm going to call it what it is, a spiritual awakening. And when you are out of alignment with your highest self, with your greatest, grandest good, whatever that may be for you, even an atheist has a source of a to be in alignment with that at all times. And it takes work. You can take a day off if you're willing to suffer the consequences of it. The consequences of it could be a mental health challenge. It could be depression, sadness, anxiety, trauma. It could be hurt and pain. It could be anger. It could be frustration. All of these are energies. And your most dominant energy is the vibration that you're putting forth out in the universe. And the vibration that you most dominantly putting out in the universe is going to match it and start sending things that are in alignment with that energy to you. That's another way of saying how the laws of attraction work. What thoughts and energies and behaviors you're putting out there in the universe it's going to start coming to you 10 times fold.
You know, that's one thing about this illusionary reality that a lot of humans aren't even aware of. That there are broadcasts and there are frequencies out here that don't want you to evolve. Within every program, there are backdoors and cheat codes. But when you realize that this is an illusion that we're living in, it's a complex one. It's an extremely complex one, but it's all made up of mathematics and things like that. And when you realize you're living in the program, you can use things within the program to maximize your results with while you're in the program. But when you realize that you're being manipulated, whenever you're feeling low or depressed, you know, okay, that's the frequency that's causing me to feel this way. Let me fight it. But if you don't even know who your enemy is or what's causing you to feel a certain way, you feel lost. And then you look within and think it's something within you. Or because of you. When the human spirit is created, there's two aspects of yourself. There's your higher self and your lower self. Your higher self is always sending messages to you unbeknownst to you. But when you start to raise your vibration and you're expanding your consciousness, you'll be more receptive to all that divine message that you're getting. But when you're low vibrating low and things like that, your reality is a reflection of how you're feeling. So whenever you're feeling low and things like that, if you watch my YouTube channel, I give tips on how you can raise your vibration so you can live beyond that synthetic suffering feeling that you're feeling. But it's all a choice. Consciousness is nothing more than the ability to make a choice. Whatever choice you use, it's on you. There's no good and there's no bad. There's only energy used in a favorable and an unfavorable way. So whatever's around you at the time that has you feeling low, circumvent that feeling and that energy and use it in a favorable way. It's really that simple.
Love it. You know, a very powerful friend of ours used the analogy of boiling water to exemplify or symbolize challenges. Boiling water equating to challenges, and how we interact with the challenges is this. Boiling water it'll either soften you like a potato or it'll harden you like an egg. The same boiling water causing two different dynamics and two different elements. So when you meet your challenges, when challenges come your way, somebody could go through the same challenge that you go through and they get empowered. You go through it and you crumble. Why is that? You know, what mindset was that person in? What perspective did they tweak themselves? Did they tweak their vision to see from? Did they didn't see a challenge? They saw an opportunity. And when you look at challenges as opportunities for growth, you'll stop being challenged and losing, and you'll either learn or you'll win, which means you'll never lose.
I like that. You know, losing and winning reminds me of condensation. They both affect the structural integrity of your mind. If you put a cold bag, if you put let's say you put a pop in the freezer, and you put that pop in a bag, a paper bag, the cold bag the bag will start ripping because of the condensation. But even if you heat that can up and you put that in the same bag, the moisture that comes off of that can will rip the bag too. So regardless if the bag is cold or hot, you get the same desired result, a rip in the fabric of your reality. But it's your choice. Do you want to have a cold mind or you want to have a hot mind? There's no good or bad, but it's all a choice. Regardless of what's going to happen, you're gonna rip your consciousness somehow. What I'm saying is, whatever occurs, however you take, or however you filter the messages that's coming into you is your choice. You can either filter it in a favorable way or unfavorable way. Regardless, you can't stop the bag from ripping. You can't stop reality from affecting you. But it's your choice on how you deal with it, because it's going to happen regardless. Nothing you can do about it. We all go through things. Some people filter it through a positive mindset. Some people filter it through a pessimistic mindset. But that which you do the most is that which you do best. Some people are good at winning because they like to win. Most people are good at losing because they choose to lose more often. They're both winners and losers go through the same challenges, but the winners know that they're winning. Losers choose to lose. It's just as simple as that. You have to look yourself in the eyes and find out, okay, who am I? Am I choosing to lose, or will I choose to win?
There's this brother in Africa named Dr. Maladoma Patrice Somé. He's a shaman. And I read an article about him recently, and the article was called a Shamanistic View to Mental Illness. And the title intrigued me because I've always been called a shaman. Not always. Well, yeah, always. I was called a shaman by an elder years ago when I was a little boy. And when they told me what that word meant, it just resonated with me. You know, a shaman is a person who's in contact or connection to the spirit world, to the spirit realm. And they can extract messages from the spirit realm and to deliver it to people to help them heal. And that's something that I've been doing all of my life. But I read this article in his village in Africa. Anytime someone's having a quote unquote mental health challenge or mental illness, they look at that as a healer being born. And what's happening is there are ancestral spirits who are trying to deliver messages to help the village heal. And this person was chosen because they have a connection and an openness to speak to the spirit realm. But the energy that's coming is so overwhelming and so powerful, it floods the cognitive mind. They're seeing visions and they're hearing voices and they're seeing things that no one else sees. And it's causing them to, in many cases, freak out. They're talking to themselves. They're yelling and screaming, and you know they're fluctuating emotions. And when they see someone going through that challenge in their village, the whole village rallies around that person and helps them through rituals and spiritual practices to help them be in alignment with this new energy. These spirits that's coming through to them with these messages, it helps them align to it, and then that person becomes a healer. So that's his reality. That's what he's been doing for generations in his village. All right. Now he comes over here to the United States and he's horrified to see how they treat people having a spiritual awakening, a healer being born, how they treat them by first giving them the label of them having a mental illness, then putting them in hospitals, giving them medications, putting them in straitjackets. Shoot, back in the day, they used to lobotomize people that had mental illnesses. That's literally just drilling a hole into your head and removing a piece of your brain that will make you domicile a vegetable. So Western medicine doesn't have a great track record with treating mental illness, is my whole point. So when he came over here and he saw that, like I said, he was horrified by it. Horrified. And it became his mission to help those of us in Western culture with African roots, but I know this is applicable to all people. He encourages us to tap back into our ritualistic nature that our ancestors had, to implement spiritual practices that will help us during our mental health challenges, during our mental illnesses, because what's happening is a healer inside of you. Your higher self is speaking to you. Your ancestors are speaking to you. And because you're having so much overwhelming energy coming down on you at one time, it manifests in a physiological reaction because we're not taught how to deal with that energy. And we'll misdiagnose those energies with terms like depression, anxiety, trauma. These are Western terminology words, but these are not the words that Dr. Somei used in his village. It's spiritual awakening. Yeah, it's challenging. Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, it's something that you will need assistance with. But once you get that assistance, once you get in alignment with your spiritual connection, your spiritual self, with your higher self, that's when not only do you become a healer to yourself, you become a healer to others. And that is what my new focus and my new movement and mission is with the Mental Health Cypher. To create a ritualistic support system, a spirituality to help people who, and it's not applicable to everybody. Some people, they're not going to resonate with their mental challenges or mental illnesses being a spiritual awakening. I get it. But for those of you who do resonate with it, if something about that intrigues you, if something about that is making hairs on the back of your neck stand up, chances are that that's what's happening to you. Depression is a very powerful emotion that disconnects you from everything that you're normally connected to in this reality. It isolates you. It fatigues you. Sometimes it debilitates you to the point where you literally don't have the energy to do anything. And that could be a very sad emotion to be in. But look at the spiritual gain to that. Look at the power of that. You detach from everything that's happening around you that you used to be connected to. Right now, the world's in complete chaos. So if you are depressed, you're disconnecting from the chaos. All right, that's the first step. You're isolating yourself. Okay, now you are being able to tune out certain voices. Now you're listening to the voice that's inside of yourself. And if you're working on fine-tuning your intuition, the only voice you're hearing is your higher self. And your higher self is going to tell you some things about yourself you may not want to hear, but you need to hear because you need to work on it. And it'll help you work on it. But you don't have the energy to move and get up and do anything. You might not even have the energy to get out of bed. Cool. Don't get out of bed. Lay in bed. That's where you need to be. You need to be still. You need to be quiet.
I always say depression will only set in when you're not doing enough of what it is that you love to do. When you're doing things that you love to do, when you're having fun, you're too busy to even let the door or the bridge for depression to creep into your life. One of the first things I always ask people when I do a consultation with them is, what do you do for fun? What do you do that you love to do? And there's always a pause for like 10 to 15 seconds whenever they're depressed. And I say, that's it. You're not doing enough of what it is that you love to do. And then I begin to ask them, well, what do you love to do? And most of the time, they don't have an answer. They're so detached from themselves that they don't even know what it is that brings them joy anymore. Whenever you're loving everyone more than they love themselves and you're loving yourself less, you're creating a bridge for depression to find you. You're creating a bridge for depression to find you. That's why you must always put yourself first. There's nothing wrong with loving everyone else, but you must put yourself first. I don't care what it is. You must titillate yourself. You must have fun with yourself. And you shouldn't need anyone else to make you feel better or fulfilled. You need to fulfill yourself. No one can do it for you. If someone's around you, relying on you to fulfill them, you'll never fulfill them. You will be on a steady road trying to fulfill someone else, and all they're doing is sucking your life force from you. Some people out here are nothing more than algorithms within this earthly reality to make sure you don't evolve. Once you realize that, you'll be able to recognize it when you feel it, not when you see it, when you feel it. Sometimes you need to move through this reality with your eyes closed and your eye open. When you do that, you'll be able to feel what's real. But until then, you'll succumb to being depressed, melancholy, the dark night of the soul, all that good stuff. You know?
Let me play Angel's Advocate on that, because what you say is true. Most definitely. That's a technique to help you out of depression. But depression itself should not always be looked at as something negative. I'm depressed right now. Right now I'm in depression. But I'm happy. So depression isn't always about happiness. Depression will always be about the work that you need to do, the inner work you need to do. When it escalates to the point where it becomes debilitating, okay, yeah, now you need to make evasive actions, evasive moves. But even getting to that point is a blessing, because monitor what you're thinking about or what you're mulling over. What is it that got you hung up? What was it that triggered it? That triggered that depression? That's the thing that you need to work on. That's the thing that you need to get focused to. So depression many times is a clean slate. It's a workbench. It's back to the drawing board. Depression can be used as a tool for self-empowerment. Now, I know this sounds completely contradictory to what you may have been taught and what you may have thought or may have learned or read. But this resonates. What I'm saying resonates with somebody. Because this isn't something that I read. This isn't something that I was taught. This is something that I've intuitively, and still right now in this very moment, I am practicing that. I am mindfully allowing myself to go into a depression because it's showing me what I need to work on. And there's a difference between sadness and depression. Emotion of the moment. Depression is a continuous emotion on loop that can last for hours, days, weeks, and months. But when you learn how to use it, when you learn how to use the secondary gains of depression as a tool rather than something to be detrimental to you, it can be so fulfilling. It could give you drive and a motivation you didn't have before, and it'll give you perspective on life you never had before.
You know, that's one of the dualities within this English language, because what I said was true and what you said was true. When you think about depressed from a human mindset, you think of something from a low or a lot of pressure being on someone.
Mm-hmm.
But from a machine, when you depress the lever, it's to start the machine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all in how you look at the word depression. So what you say is right, true, and exact.
And
Yeah.
what you say is right, true, and exact. And like I said earlier, the same boiling water, but what element are you going to be in that boiling water? Is that
Mm,
boiling water depression going to soften you and break you, or is it going to harden you, make you
mm,
stronger? And that's the
mm,
beauty of what you said earlier when you said consciousness is the power to make a choice. Oh, that's a
mm-hmm.
t-shirt. Somebody please put that on the t-shirt. Consciousness is the power to make a choice. So you can make a choice to not allow depression to be a negative impact on you. That's all I did. I just made the choice of, you know what? I feel it coming on, so I might as well go ahead and navigate through it. And I've been doing that for years. I allow myself to go into my depression to see what I need to work on, because look at it like a rubber band.
Mm,
If you got a rubber band and you pull that rubber band way back, the further you pull it, when you release it, it's going to put whatever you put into that rubber band, that projectile is going to propel it higher or further. Now, let's look at that rubber band as being depression. All right. And let's just say you put a pebble in it. That pebble in it is your perspective, your new mindset. Now, imagine pulling that rubber band downward, which means the deeper you go into that depression, the more you're putting tension on that rubber band. When you let it go, you're going to propel yourself in a higher vibration than you was before you went into that depression. I've been doing that for years. It just so happened this last a couple of weeks ago, I got stuck. No problem. I ain't no quitter. I am an alchemist. This is what alchemists do. Alchemists do some pretty dangerous stuff. If you if you ever like look at alchemists from back in the day, they used to be mixing chemicals. The reason why we know is certain chemicals you shouldn't mix is because how many alchemists got blown up in history. So they write down their formula,
mm-hmm.
letting another alchemist know, hey, look, I'm gonna mix these two chemicals together, and see what happens. And if you hear something, boom, okay, he just blown up. So note to self, don't mix those two
Don't
chemicals
you
together.
right?
That's alchemy. Alchemy is the practice of taking two elements and putting them together to make something else. That's the most simplest definition of alchemy I could give you. Taking two different elements and combining them together to make something else.
Mm. You know
So
what,
take,
man?
yes, sir.
I'm sorry. No, you was on the roll. I'm sorry, bro. I thought you was done.
No, I was about to start horse lighting. Horse lighting is a term I use when I'm beating a horse to death instead of sending it to the light. So I was about to say the same thing I just said, just a different way. So you got it, bro. Tag you it.
You know, I, I wanted to lead the family with this, man. I was just telling my daughter this the other day. We drove 8 hours from Cincinnati to North Carolina, and we had a long discussion about our fears. And I was telling her that your fears are nothing more than the shadows of your success. Simply thinking about failure creates the
Mm.
opportunity.
Hold on, bro.
Simply
I'm
think.
sorry. I'm sorry, bro. You gotta let that breathe for a second. Run that back and let that breathe for a second. Y'all hear that? Do
Well,
that again.
see, I was just telling her that your fears are the shadows of your success.
Mm. What? All right, put that on the t-shirt too and get that to somebody. Get that to somebody you love. Wear it yourself. Please,
Okay,
please continue,
okay.
bro. Please continue. Beautiful.
You know, simply thinking about failure creates an opportunity for failure to be born in your reality.
Mm.
You know, we all need to learn to embrace the excitement that occurs from not knowing.
Mm.
Sometimes when you don't know what comes, you're afraid, like, oh, I'm not ready. But there's so much excitement in the unknown.
Mm-hmm.
When you're secure in all that you do, the excitement that comes from taking risks no longer exists. When you take risks in life, essentially you're allowing the ecstasy of miracles to find you.
Mm-mm-mm.
So I want to lead a family with that. That's the jewel that I gave my daughter on the way
Beautiful
from North
jewel.
Carolina. And she got quiet for about 30 minutes.
She probably still thinking about that. She could take that to Zales and get that appraised. They like, we can't afford to buy that jewel.
That's one thing about being a father, when you can divulge something from your soul and they ingest it in their consciousness and you watch it blossom over time. You know, that's one of the joys of being a father.
Beautiful.
Winning.
And I'm going to piggyback off of what you just said and give the family this. Take that word fear and change it to the acronym feeling excited and ready.
That's stolen.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I'm getting that. Feeling excited
and ready. And speaking of being ready, I think we're ready to say good evening to you good people. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to the new and improved Mental Health Cypher with myself, the Herban Yogi. Thank you, my brother and co-host, Chris Enlightened. Remember to check out the THEE Enlightened Journey on YouTube. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, the Mental Health Cypher. Check us out on Twitter. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on Anchor. We on all, not all, but we on 9 different platforms for radio, podcasts. We on Stitcher. We on Spotify, Apple Play. Can't remember the rest of them, but you know, just hit us up. You know, we appreciate the listens. We appreciate you taking time out of your Wednesday to listen to us. But we also desire for you to engage with us. Got any questions? You need some support. You know, you're feeling like something that we said resonated with you and you need a little bit more clarity on us. We would love to hear from you. And also, we have a new platform that we like to offer to the fam. If you need any consultation, if you need any ear to listen to, if you need any spiritual work done, someone to enlighten you with metaphysics, if you have any mental health challenges and you think that you just don't have anyone to talk to, me and Chris will tag team and offer you dual consultation. If you're interested in that, want to learn more, hit us up at the Mental Health Cypher at gmail.com, and in the subject line put consultation. Better yet, put tag team consultation, because that's what we're going to be doing. Just like on the show, you're getting pretty much 2 for the price of 1. Again, just send an email to the Mental Health Cypher at gmail.com, and in the subject line put consultations.
If you're ready for change, if you're ready to get that deeper insight, if you want your reality and your consciousness shaken on a quantum level, I'm imploring you to reach out to us and choose to win. Whenever you have 2 masters helping you out, you'll be that much better than if you just had 1. So choose to win. Stop fighting for your limitations. And if you need the help, that's what we're here for. That's what this platform is for. The universe has brought you here at this moment, at this time, to help you choose to win.
There you go. 2 metaphysical twins that's helping you to win.
Ooh.
The Mental Health Cypher at gmail.com. Check us out on all of our other social media platforms. Like I said, we love engagement. You engage us, we'll engage you right back. We all fam, we all in this together, each one teach one. So, till next week, what we're gonna be talking about next week. I'm putting us both on the spot because we got a bunch of topics, and I'm gonna let my brother pick the topic that we're gonna be talking about next week.
I think we should go in on fighting for your limitations.
Fighting for your limitations. What?
Yeah, I think
So
we should
there
go
you
in.
go.
Yeah. Winning.
All right. Next week, join us here because we're gonna be talking about fighting for your limitations. Because you know what happens when you fight for your limitations? They become yours.
You get the keyboard.
You get the keyboard. A nice bowl on a silver platter. And we don't want that, fam. We want y'all to win. We want to win. So we want that for the fam. We want to all win and grow and learn and heal together. So, next week, peace.
Peace.